37.
Yeah, something like that.
Looks like that.
37.
37.
Oh, you're over 29, right? 25.
So she has a couple of topics that she's going to talk to you about. First, she's going to talk to you about a little community outreach that we did for our kids this week. And then she's going to talk to you about several of our program opportunities that we have for some of our kids that we've not talked to this group about. So please feel free to ask her any questions that you might have. We just want you to have an awareness of some of the different opportunities we have for our kids. So
Thank you so much. And Amy finds these strides to support our kids in every avenue. Is it on? I'm usually talking, I have that teacher voice, so really I don't really need a mic, you know what I mean? But Amy finds, as I said, strives very, very hard to support kids in more than just the academic realm. So this past week, we had Crump Stadium. I don't know if you've ever been to Crump Stadium before, but Crump Stadium, the top of it, has some classrooms there, and we transformed that into a dental clinic. It had 12 dental chairs, and we signed 1,013 second graders. And the purpose of that we worked with the partner with the City of Houston. They brought in their dentist, along with University of Texas dentists, dental groups. And it's a preventative program that we have been collaborative with them for a couple of years. It just continues to grow, because I think you all know how important it is for us to take care of those issues like your teeth. You know, when your teeth hurt, when you're not feeling well, everything hurts you and you can't focus. What we found after day 3 of this clinic was that we had 52 youngsters who were so severely in pain and who had such serious issues with their teeth that they needed to have emergency care. And so the clinic provided on Saturday the support that our kids needed at no charge at one of their local clinics. And one of the dentists who was here with us during the week of February 3rd through the 7th said to me, I don't live very far away. It's important enough for me to take care of your kids. I'm going to go and I'm going to make sure that every child is seen. Every parent that brings a child will have that work done. These children had access. They had teeth that were not able to come through the skin. They needed to have major work. Now, the purpose of our clinic was not that. The purpose of our clinic was for our teeth to be examined, their teeth to receive sealants on the healthy teeth, and for them to receive fluoride treatments. So I want to share with you a little bit of what happened February 3rd through the 7th. Lots of children. We have 12 dental chairs set up with 12 teams of providers, screening the children's teeth from Alief Independent School District. With children that can have sealants, we have our sealing team. We are providing fluoride varnish, and outside this room we have 2 classrooms in this athletic facility building for oral health education. With Project Setting Smiles, we select schools that have 70% or above percentage of students on free and reduced lunch. And so it's by invitation. We had, at the beginning of the week, I believe we had like 1,017 signed up. It was an amazing number. And, Alief is so big, and, with the school so in close proximity to this facility, it really helps to provide the services on site here. There are 2 strongly evidence-based strategies in dentistry. One is sealants, and the other one is drinking tap water, fluoridated tap water. So our messages to the children are always to drink tap water, fluoridated tap water. People think that tap water is not clean, it's safe, and it has the benefit of fluoride. So that program is expanding each year. We look to partner with them. In fact, I've already reserved Crump Stadium already for next year. And the classrooms, the students think of themselves as going on a field trip. In fact, one of the young men said to me, "This is the best field trip I've ever been on." Because we got a chance to come over to this big building. Because part of what I do is bring them over here, and they have lunch here. And we have some rooms reserved for them here, and we have some staff that's over here with them. Our whole purpose is to try to help their first dental visit be less threatening, so that they'll want to go back to see the dentist later. So another thing that goes along with this is that there is a follow-up check. They come back after a year later. They check this. They do a random selection of children, and they check those sealants. And if more work is to be done, referrals are made. This is a wonderful partnership, and Alief ISD is fortunate enough to they accepted the challenge. I said, "Can you transform your clinic into a different place?" So we're the only ISD at this point in which this happens. There are some other ones they've come by taking a look at what we have, and I think this model will be used at other places, because one thing is for sure, it's proven, and we had a lot of support from the electricians to the men that came in and laid the floors for us to protect the carpet, to volunteers in this building to support the kids in the classrooms once we sent them here, to the volunteers who helped in the lower area, helping the kids get up. Because the second graders, they're not used to climbing stairs in the building. They're on the first floor. So we anticipated those needs, and they were met by people who were very caring. So this is just another way that Alief ISD cares for students today. Any questions?
Wow. If this was to cost, how much would you estimate? Like how much?
Last year, they gave us an estimate of about $600,000.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
My school was one of the schools that came over.
Yes, I invited every district, every one of our campuses participated, so all 44 campuses sent, and some of the campuses sent almost 100 students. We got really close. I think Collins at 89, and there were some at 73 and 68. So their the second graders did come. This was made possible by the nursing staff at the campuses, getting the paperwork to the parents, getting parent consent forms returned, making sure that the children took what was necessary and brought back what was necessary, following up with the parents as well, until they provided what was needed for the children. We transported the children over here using Alief ISD buses and back to their campuses, and they brought their lunches and had lunches here with us. I think I saw a hand. Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea out of 2017 how many, this is the first trip they've had to there?
We looked at that, and it was a little bit more than about 60% of the children had been, and about 40% had never been.
Excuse me, how much external funding did you have for this?
The only external funding we had was the support for the volunteers who actually were away from their workstations and working with us, and the transportation cost, which was less than about $8,000. And I'm sorry, I said that's not proper. That's for all of the clinics that we run. And so that would have included the vision clinic that's going to come up in a week, and then the vision clinic that they went to in November. So that total cost of all three clinics would have been that amount. Yes, ma'am.
How were the volunteers selected? Were they Alief ISD staff, or did you go through the process of having people do the background?
These were all the Alief ISD staff. What I tried to do was not to pull campus people as much as possible.
Okay.
But some of those campus people were clinic aides. So when campuses had, for instance, Collins, one of the measures is that they need to send one adult per every 10 children for every 10, and we asked for an adult. And so we couldn't ask Collins to send 9 people from their staff. So we pulled clinic aides, and the nurses were, they were very supportive of that. Some of them were parent liaisons. They were supportive and helped us through some of that. And then some of them were parents. They were just volunteers but from campuses.
Okay.
And they were all pre-screened.
The only reason that I asked is because I wasn't aware of a sign-up sheet to volunteer, so I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't get a chance to participate as well, so hopefully I won't miss that again.
Right, we tried to use support staff so that we didn't have to impact the classroom as much as possible, although we did have a couple of classes where the majority of the teacher's class came,
Okay.
and those teachers actually came with us.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
What's
ma'am.
the maximum capacity of students you can serve with this program?
You know, they've been really good to us, and as many kids as we could have supplied, they would have found a way to do it. Now, our facility will hold 12 of their seats, but we only asked them for 1 week. Could we get more time? Absolutely. They've been very, very supportive of Alief. Okay. No more questions.
Amazing job.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And the kids were wonderful. They had a great time, a really great time. There were a few criers out there, but most of them those were just adults. No. We did have a couple of parents that come and because they wanted to see what the process was like, and we certainly invite parents to come. And sometimes it's even better when they come because it's easier for children who've never been to the dentist to come. And then we had the beautiful view of Crump Stadium, so that was very helpful for them to see that from the top. But anyway, great program, and we look for that program to expand. So I want to talk with you about some more of our great programs. We have a district that is very, very big, and it has a lot of needs. And so we cannot look at any of our programs and say that they're one size fits all, because it doesn't work that way in Alief ISD, and it doesn't work that way in most school districts. But we're exceptional, I believe, in that we try to find as many possible ways as we can to fit the needs of our students. We have we have a mobile community. So our children may move from one area of the city to another. They may move out of the attendance zone and then back in. They may move from one campus to another. So the mobility is very, very great in our district. And yet, we have a responsibility of serving them and meeting their needs where they are and making sure that we give them the best possible education as possible. So tonight, I want to share with you 4 of the programs that we use to try to meet the needs of all the children that we have with the various needs. I don't know that any of you have ever heard of SOAR. It's a program that's been in the district for an extremely long time. And it's an overage program. And I'll describe each one of these for you, but I like to make sure that, we as school people use all these acronyms and stuff, and you're looking up there saying, what in the world is that? So I'll tell you from the beginning so you don't wonder. SOAR is a special opportunity program, and it's offered to allow kids to have restoration of credit for academic restoration. That's what that A stands for. N is just for night high school. That NHS is for night high school, which is the night version of SOAR. So Alief ISD has day SOAR, and they have night SOAR. And when night SOAR first began, we would begin about 3:20 in the evening, and we would go until 9:50 p.m. So we would have kids attending school in the morning, and some of them would attend some of these evening classes. Since then, we reduced that last class, and now we're finishing up a little after 8 p.m. now, rather than going until almost 10. The next one is PEP, and that is the parenting education program that we have. We have students who are parents or who are parenting, who are pregnant and parenting. That's a program, and it's a necessary program for our kids. It used to be that was a sentence that you need to drop out of school. That's not the case anymore. And then LINK, that is a program that we have in our district for our students who are coming in, and they have no handle of the English language. They are newcomers to the United States and a newcomer to the language itself. So, I'm going to start off talking a little bit about SOAR. So what is SOAR? It's, as I said a minute ago, it's a special opportunity for academic restoration. And our hope with SOAR is that we can reduce the dropout rate by offering a whole bunch of different opportunities. One of the keys to high schools now is flexibility. You all are talking, you'll hear Mr. Chambers, if you haven't already had a presentation on HB 5, and part of that is talking about how do you make the curriculum flexible, and how do you make it applicable to every single student. And so part of what SOAR does is it offers some flexibility in hours, it offers some flexibility in course work, and it offers some flexibility in the manner in which we deliver the instruction. So the model is different. So SOAR is a program that gives students an opportunity to graduate on time. That's key. Because if you think about it, many of you say, I graduated the class of, and you'll name your class, right? You started off with a group of students in 9th grade, and in 4 years, you were expected to see those same students on stage with you as you graduated, as you became a senior, correct? Well, that's what happens now. The state now has what's called cohorts. And a cohort is a group of students who enter the 9th grade as a group, and they enter it for the first time, and the expectation on the part of the state and the part of Alief ISD is that they will all graduate in 4 years. So part of what SOAR does is it helps students who have struggled at some point get on track so that they can continue with their same cohort and they can graduate on time. That's important. Because by state definition, if they do not graduate in 4 years, they are considered dropouts. Even though they may still be in school, they will count against the school district as a dropout. SOAR helps to lower the dropout rate because it offers opportunities that are not necessarily offered in the traditional high school setting, because it offers the flexibility of doing something just a little bit different. I think I've just skipped several of these really quickly. I didn't need to do that. Okay. That was fast, huh? SOAR is a benefit to students because, some students just do really much, so they do so much better in a smaller setting. So the class size in SOAR is expected to be 1 to 15. That's an optimal size, and so that's helpful to students who struggle and who are sometimes reluctant to ask questions. And it has the potential for the teacher to be able to give more one-on-one attention to a student that might be struggling. Secondly, it offers the opportunity for differentiation within that classroom setting. So a student may be able to keep the pace with the class or with a specific group, and so the teacher may group those students together. Or that student may be able to independently go a little bit faster. In this particular model, they're able to do that. Or there may be a group of students who are struggling, and so the teacher may put that group together and work with them in a small group setting. All of this is an opportunity within that particular, within a smaller group of 15 for that teacher to be able to manage and navigate. The other thing about SOAR is we have 4 9-week periods, and that helps the student to accumulate the equivalent of 2 years' worth of credits versus 1 year worth of credits. Now, the key of this is a credit restoration course, so these students are primarily taking courses that they may have not passed already. So they're going back and they're taking that course again. Thirdly, SOAR offers options for students who have some other types of issues. For instance, they may be good students, but attendance has been a problem and it's causing them to fall behind. They may have some financial restraints and they must work during the day. SOAR offers them the opportunity to come and take their courses at different times. And they just may have family situations that will not help. They won't be able to graduate because either they can't afford to continue to go every day, 187 days, because they have to work or they have a family member that's ill. Let me give you an example. I want to introduce someone to you. She is the program director. Her name is Kathleen Jameson. Stand up, Ms. Jameson, and come on up. I want you to share something with us. Ms. Jameson has done a wonderful job with this program. So I mentioned family situations. I want to have her to share with you a story, and this is this is something that happens on a day-to-day basis in Alief, but this is what SOAR does for a student. She's going to give you an example.
I appreciate being here tonight. I really am grateful for the job I have. We have so many kids that have problems in high school, but in SOAR, it's a huge concentration. If they've gotten behind, I can tell you it is due to serious problems. But we have successes every day, and that's what we hold on to. And I'm grateful to Mossy Settings and Mr. Chambers, and really the entire admin building for funding programs, these 4 programs that I'm fortunate enough to work with daily. Because when you're 16 and 17 years old and you don't have anybody to turn to and you're living on your own, and a lot of the agencies are working with younger kids, and they have this much on their timeline, it's hard to juggle that. 2 big successes that I can think of. Joyce and I were reminiscing in our office before this presentation. And we had a student recently who had been in foster care all her life. And she did a great job in school academically. She was a straight A student. And she came in panicked in M3, which is our third 9-week semester. Again, every 9 weeks we're turning over and doing a semester. And she said, my guardian is going to kick me out. And I'm not going to have a place to live. What are we going to do? So we have a great instructional leadership team, and we all gathered together. And we did find out that there was somebody she could live with 2 hours away in the north part of Houston. So we told her, we'll help you finish up. We're going to fast track you through some classes. She could do some Play-Doh, which is our course work that's online. And she was like, no, this program really made a difference in my life, and I am not giving up a minute of it. So on her 18th birthday, she was kicked out. She took a bus 2 hours in the morning to come to SOAR and 2 hours at night. And we told her that you won't do it. It's too much. She never missed a day. That's a huge success for us. And it's not professional to get touched about it, but that is amazing dedication. And she still comes back and visits us. A few weeks ago, we had a girl who had a baby. Last year, she had worried about hurting herself, and we got her some mental health care. And she walked into my office a couple of weeks ago, and she said that I'm having feelings again. And I said, similar, to last year? And she said, yes, ma'am. And so we got together with our team, and we set up services for her at West Houston for mental health care. And her father blocked the whole thing because he said, they'll take the baby away. We tried to explain all of that, went through all the agencies' support and how much courage it took her to make a change. And he fought it, and she was underage. So we worked out with West Houston where we got her mental health care. They picked her up at 11:30, and she did outpatient care for 2 weeks. And today she's a beaming, happy, smiling mom. And I see her every day, and you can see a huge difference. That is what SOAR does for students that are having a hard time.
So as you can see, the family situations sometimes become so overwhelming for students, and so it is part of what we do in this program to help. SOAR also helps all of our campuses, as you can see by the numbers. There are kids from all high schools, including Alief Early College, who take classes at SOAR, and these are the numbers that we're servicing just for this school year. And that's up to this particular grading period, and we still have another grading period at SOAR to go. So this past, yes?
Is there, I'm kind of biased, I'm sorry. Is there a reason why Hastings is so high? compared to?
A lot of times it has to do with the counselors and some of the kids who want to they want to go ahead, they want to take some courses ahead. There are some times where the kids themselves select and they go to the counselors and ask for it. I'll tell you that Hastings has always, and I've supervised this program for a very long time, has always had higher numbers than any of the other campuses have had.
Right.
But this particular year, they've surpassed even what I thought they would have this year. And sometimes it depends upon who the principal is for that particular program. For years, the principal or the manager came from Hastings. And so the counselors were more familiar with them, and so they would always contact that manager from them. But Kathleen is from Elsick, or from Taylor, and those numbers have actually increased since last year and the year before. So I can't explain it. This is one of those unusual years for it, but.
How long is the process normally, like if I were to come in and say that I needed some help, how long is the process from the time that I come and talk to a counselor to the time that I'm actually enrolled to the program and up and going?
That's a good question. We start the semester beforehand.
Okay.
And we get out the word to the counselors, and we give them, they have a form that has the dates that we're going to open registration and that kind of thing. The thing with SOAR at this point, there are so many kids that want to be in it that they know they just come. Okay. They go to their counselors now, they say, I want in, and the counselors start making reservations or recommendations as well for them to come.
Okay.
So it's very quick. It doesn't, and I will tell you that even though we have windows of time when we start for this 9 weeks period, that doesn't mean that we won't take a kid sometimes that has to have it.
Okay.
Sometimes that happens a lot with cohort kids, seniors. They'll get to the 3rd grade period, and for some reason, they're just not able to make it on the traditional campus. And they or their counselors, or both, will contact Mrs. Jameson to see if it's not possible for them to come to SOAR.
Okay, and they walk with the rest of the class, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
You have a question?
Other than the students who elect to join the program, how do students get identified for the program? Is it through counselors?
Yes.
Do you guys look for trends or patterns that identify the students as being the ones that need help?
Yes, the counselors usually are the ones that are going to be our primary sources of identifying students. Although, because the program is so established, there are students who themselves ask for the program and their parents contact Dr. Jameson. And so we then go backwards and say to the parent that we need to make sure that the home campus counselor is aware of it, because we need to look at the transcript. We need to make sure that we are giving the child the right classes.
And so the students stay on their campuses, or do they travel to a certain place to take part of the SOAR program?
Well, there's a combination. That's what's so wonderful about SOAR. There are a group of students who they spend the entire time in SOAR because they are taking their core courses, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And they're behind, say, English 1, and they need to take English 1, English 2, and possibly English 3. And so they will be at SOAR for the entire day. And I'll show you some of the other things that courses that SOAR offers. So they may have to take, their schedule may have 2 English classes on it, and 2 science classes on it.
So, small question, how long has the program been around in the year?
You know, we were talking about that in my office, and I know it's been about 20 years. Any other? Yes?
I just want to make a clarification on what you indicated previously. You said that students have the opportunity to opt into this program if they want to get ahead. Does that mean that the grades are where they need to be, they just utilize it as a means of graduating early? I mean, how would that be applicable to the restoration program?
Well, there are a couple of times where we have students, and I'll give you a couple of examples, where we have a student, and it doesn't happen very often, but it is one of those opportunities. Last year and the year before, and several years prior to this, we've had terminally ill parents. And the student and their parent would like to see their child graduate from high school before they die. And we're not going to turn that child down. So we would take that child with the opportunity to make those credits up so that child can graduate in time for their parent to see that graduation.
Wow.
Just curious, what's the distribution of grades? I guess it's predominantly seniors and minor.
Juniors and seniors, predominantly juniors and seniors. We have some sophomores, but our target grade ages are 16 and over, and the majority of those kids are going to be 17, 18, 19 years old.
By definition, you shouldn't have any freshmen.
We don't. That is correct. And our day program, just wanted to let you see what our numbers look like. This past fall, we had 133 kids, and I know that's not adding up really well because I told you that we try to keep it at 15, but you know, Dr. Jameson has a heart, and sometimes she'll take a few additional kids, and so she did this particular semester. They did very well. We service those children with 9.5 teachers, and we have a counselor who works part-time during the day, and she works part-time during the evening. So we have a 0.5 counselor for that. This year we were able to get a wonderful content specialist to go in and work with that program, and you can see the other two people that support the program during the day. So you will know these courses as English, math, social studies, and science. And so primarily, students that are in SOAR are failing in one of these or several of these courses. I'm not going to list all of those, but you'll notice Mr. Kleinson asked a really good question when he said, you don't have that many kids that are freshmen, right? That's correct, but we may have some. So you'll notice that English 3 is in bold and English 4 is in bold because those are the courses that they're primarily taking. And every once in a while we'll have a senior or a junior that has to go back and take English 1 because they didn't go back and take English 1. So it's offered. So those are the courses that we offer, and these courses are offered each one of the semesters, but we also look at the number of kids and what they're registering to take. As long as they're in these 4 major categories, as I said, English, math, social studies, and science, we can usually deliver in SOAR. Yes, ma'am.
Just a couple of questions. One is, you obviously mentioned this program is made for juniors and seniors, and typically I would imagine that they get in the position because they failed in one or more classes, that's 9th graders and 10th graders, and wonder whether or not you're seeing a need to expand this into 9th and 10th graders and have other programs to address students who, who failed 2 or more classes in 9th grade or 10th grader, and not getting to the point where a junior or senior level has to take double up on the same type of class.
Well, first of all, 10th graders are served in this program. So it's 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. We begin at age 16. Okay? And then we do have, one of the things that we're working with our campuses is trying to be sure that campuses are offering those credit restoration courses for 9th graders on their own campuses as much as possible. So we've expanded Plato and some other credit restoration programs at the home campus, and that's actually meeting the need. We're noticing that there are fewer and fewer 9th grade failures, whereas before we had a larger number of kids to service. We did have a freshman program for SOAR. It's, you want to work yourself out of a job. This is one of those programs that's worked like that, where the 9th graders are able to meet the needs at the campus level.
Are you seeing in the course exams, are you seeing the students not only complete the coursework, are you seeing students successfully complete and pass the STAR required in the course exams part of that?
Absolutely. I want her to talk to you about the success that we're having in that area. Thank you for asking that question.
One of the great things from coming from a large main campus high school such as Taylor and having really good training there was realizing that when I came into the program, we had to rethink SOAR because we're accountable to all 5 high schools, and if we're not doing our job, in other words, kids are not passing exit tests, we're not benefiting the district. So in previous years, a lot of it was packet-based because in SOAR, teachers teach several content courses at once. So they might have 6 groups of kids and while the teacher's working with Algebra 3, Algebra 1 and 2 get to hear the lesson. So they have information put together that they can continue working on while the teacher differentiates and rotates around. But what I have done with my content specialist in the last year and a half is to try to really produce the same standard of what they're getting in a classroom on main campus. And I think that's the best way to serve the students, and also, you know, the principals and the counselors are expecting us to get those results. If they just pass the class but they can't pass their EOC for graduation, that's not success. And we use our district PLC time every Wednesday from 1:30 to 3, and we work on planning and working together to do cross-content objectives so that we can give that support to our students and campuses.
So to answer that question, we have to be competitive with the campuses so that we're not negatively impacting their grades. And they wouldn't send it to us if we would continue to do that. Yes, sir.
Do you have an effective strategy for dealing with students with serious knowledge gaps who come to your programs and they are supposed to be 11th graders or 12th graders, but they have a lot of knowledge gaps in content areas like algebra 1 and English 1. You have a effective strategy for bringing them to a level where they can catch up to the rest of you.
Well, we hope that some of the strategies that we use in SOAR is going to help that. We help those kids with gaps because we're not expecting them to keep along with the rest of the kids. Sometimes we have to do quite a bit of remediation when they get there. One of the things that we learned early on in SOAR was that many students who originally wanted to come to SOAR had serious reading problems. And if you have a reading comprehension problem, it covers the gamut of every course. And so we had to work toward remediating and doing some work there. So yes, we have some things that we're doing to impact it. We continue to look for more. This is not the program for every single student. There are some students whose gaps are way more serious and they would need more time. But this program offers more resources, time and attention than I think sometimes it does in a traditional classroom, because there are not as many kids to compete for the teacher's attention, and the teacher can provide that one-on-one support. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Just one last question on the teachers. I'm assuming they're paid on a traditional teacher salary schedule? What are you saying in regards to retention rates of those teachers in the specialty program?
We have some excellent retention rate for the teachers because the teachers in this program must be highly qualified as the traditional day school teachers, or they can't work in this program. The state requires it, and I certainly require it. So we keep those teachers. One of the ways that we are able to meet the challenge for them is that some of our teachers had traditionally gone to HCC or some other college-based program to teach in night school, and our salary is competitive with that. In fact, we pay a little bit more per hour than they do for that reason, so that we can keep them for ourselves. Yes?
Well, about the staffing, that brings up a question I had. The counselor, I'm just mystified by this 0.5 person. I realize that the numbers of students, are smaller, but at the same time, it seems like these are students that probably have quite a few issues, and it seems like a lot for one person to do. So I'm wondering how that came about, and maybe it's be a financial issue.
No,
and
we actually.
You can have more teachers.
Sorry, I cut you off and I didn't get that last
Well,
part.
I was just wondering, if that's adequate, and if it's not adequate, are you in a position to have somebody that's there more?
Here's what we do. The SOAR counselor works in collaboration with the homeschool counselor for that student. So that student actually has 1.5 counselors. And so it's not that they only have the half counselor. They have the half counselor when they come to SOAR for the purpose of the immediate problems that they have for that while they're in that program. But they also have the support of their home campus counselor in addition to this counselor. So the program has a has a half counselor, but the students do not.
If they're coming to SOAR off campus, I mean, are they really going to have access to that counselor in the classroom?
Many of our students go to both places, and this particular counselor works primarily in the day because at night we hire more people to come and support us for the night program. So we have additional counselor support at night, but we hire them on a contract basis. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, we do hire about 4 of them, and they help us at night to support the night school program. So I won't go through all of these, but these are the benefits of SOAR. It is for that student, as I mentioned before, that's over age. It is for that student who needs that teacher to give them that one-on-one, that direct instruction. This is not the student who is in front of a computer all day to be able to manage their learning from a computer screen. So we utilize the direct instruction model for these children in this particular classroom. I mentioned dual enrollment because a student could conceivably be registered at Hastings, Elsick, or Taylor for 7 periods a day and registered at Knight High School for 2 periods. So that student would have a 9-class schedule. Does that make sense? So this is a little bit about Knight High School because Knight High School is the complement to the day program. So I'm kind of moving you a little bit over to that. There is no cost to the students at night. In fact, many of our students catch the 6 o'clock bus and they go home on that bus. Knight High School it encourages students to stay in school because they can retake their courses more quickly than they could if they had to wait at the traditional school where they'd have to wait till the next semester came for them to take it. In Knight High School, they could take it within the next grading period, the next 9 weeks. So while the learning is fairly fresh on their mind, they can take that and retake it, and it also encourages them to continue. I mentioned earlier that the staff must be highly qualified in order to be instructors in either day or night program, in either the day or the night program. And I mentioned the variety or the flexibility in courses. The Knight High School program also offers programs in foreign language, physical education, health, and art. So you can see we're expanding a little bit more for the night because we had campuses calling and saying, could you offer this? And if we had enough students to create a course, we hired a teacher and we were able to offer that particular course for the students. Yes, ma'am.
Regarding your transportation, you did mention briefly about a 6 o'clock bus, but in regards to being dually enrolled, how are they being transported? Transportation is provided, do they have to have separate transportation? You also mentioned that some of the classes go as far as 8-ish later in the evening. What's the commute like? Is that taken care of daily, or how does that work?
The students coming from Taylor to Knight High School, there's a bus that comes over and they drop off students at Knight High School and at Elsick High School because of the answer some other program that they're having at Taylor. So that bus is used to bring them to Knight High School. Most of the children that we service are serviced before 8 o'clock, and so they can ride that 6 o'clock bus and get home. The kids that stay later are usually older kids, and they have their own transportation or parents pick them up.
But you didn't say anything about Hastings being transported. What about those?
I'm sorry, I didn't tell you where it is located. It's located between Hastings and Elsick, so they just walk to it. I don't know if you know where the annex is. It's in the annex. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you that part. This is the Knight High School staff, and as you can see, we're servicing about 300 of those young adults in the program for a 9-week period, and there is the staffing allocation for this program. And then I want to talk a little bit about LINK. LINK stands for the Language Institute for Newcomers, and it serves our immigrant students. These kids are just locating to the United States, and they speak. There are several programs that we offer for them. There's a basic program in which these students come to us, and they are more than 2 years behind in their education, even in their own country, and they speak no English. And then there's the regular program. They're tested when they get here. And then this regular program will service the kids because they have not been in school. They have been in school, and yet they still don't learn. They don't know English. So this program is designed to help students to learn literacy and to be able to manage to master the language enough for them to be able to, in about a year to two, go back onto their campuses. And many of them will be our valedictorians and salutatorians on our campuses many times. And so, this is a little bit about LINK and why is it necessary? Because we have students that come, just like you going to visit another country. When you go there and you don't speak the language, it's difficult to navigate any part of that system. And so that's what happens with these students. They come, they don't speak English. So what do? We place them in a sheltered environment. We contain them in a specific area of the building so that we can at least help them to navigate a small space before we send them into our mega high schools. Linguistically and culturally, their backgrounds may be similar. Ethnically, they're maybe very different. Research tells us if we don't do something like this, we're going to have a bunch of dropouts. We need to be able to reach the kids and bring them up to where they need to. They need specific specialized support. And so in order for us to do that, we have to acclimate them into a system in which they need to be able to survive. That's the purpose of LINK. This is going to be really interesting. In just a second, these are something that I've shared with you before, but these are just this year. These are the children and the numbers that we have serviced for this year. Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting, because I would have done the impression that Mexico would have been a lot higher versus El Salvador. You know, that kind of, wow.
And from year to year, the numbers look different. But this is the 13-14 year, and that's what this year looks like. Yes, sir.
Just to add that, I'm from Guatemala, and we have in whole Texas we have 600,000 Salvadorians, 400,000 Honduras, and 200,000 Guatemalans. So Central America is coming big in Texas, especially here in Houston.
Yes, sir.
So George, take me through a scenario. Somebody comes here tomorrow from Russia. What's their first week like?
Well, first of all, we're going to bring them in, and we're going to do what's called a home survey. We want to find out a little bit about them and their families. What language does the family speak? Is there someone that's in their network or their family members that speak English? Do they always speak that particular language at home? Is that the only communication device they have? So we start with that. There's testing that goes on so we can determine where we need to start with that particular
So
student.
the testing would be in Russian?
The testing would be, we have a lot of different things we do. We do some in English, some in Russian, some in, we look and try to see where are they. We use pictures, we use signs, we use all kinds of things to be able to determine what do they understand. Is there no recognition of anything English? Where do we start with this particular child? So we do that. That's really key. From that, I should have Kathleen answer all these questions. Come on. I'm asking for a program, I'm sorry.
You can imagine it's hard when you're from Russia. You don't really have anybody to talk to. A lot of translators or they use dictionaries and their own translation devices. Yeah, it's an interesting experience when they first come. It's very difficult for them. We have to take them everywhere. You have to remember with the buses, the high schools have 100 buses. It's nice when they're lined up by order, but sometimes they're not, So they think, I get on the third bus, but they don't realize that the bus lineup has changed. So we have to have people walk them out. We take them through the cafeteria. They have elective classes at the 9th grade centers. We have to have people walk over there with them. Parents have a lot of anxiety because it's new for them. And so it's really time intensive, but they flourish. And I have a staff of ESL teachers that are just highly devoted, to second language learners. And, they come along. The difference for me this year is last year I had 80 kids, but the caseworkers from the different agencies had told us that things were going to increase, and they have. We enrolled 5 kids within the last 2 days, and I'm almost up to 170. And they tell us that more and more are coming, just like this gentleman mentioned about the numbers of people immigrating. So I added another teacher. We have 25, it'll be 27 as of today, basic learners. And a lot of them are on first and second grade level. They haven't been in school for a long, long time. And we, look at phonetic influence. We use Rosetta Stone. We have a lot of interaction. It's reading, writing, speaking, and listening in English. And I don't know, we just do it. It's a lovely program because you have to remember you have 4 years to graduate. And they take EOCs down. Their scores don't count until after the 3rd year. And if you're marked refugee or asylum, you have 5 years. But, once we get them out of basic and on regular, you'll see them teaching some of the same things that you see in 9th grade classes. Our goal is to give them a foundational language and then try to think of themselves as on-level students because, they don't want to do anything, although it's too babyish. I want to study Poe or do what other things are. So with the regular kids, we mix and we try to bring a lot of the influences and just give a lot of support to them. So does that answer?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to get her first and I'll get you. Yes.
So is Alief just for high school, or is it for all students?
It's for high school, but we do have a program at AMS.
So when you get a student, you mentioned that comes in on first and second grade level, the high school age student, is your plan in 4 years still to get them to go through the program and graduate with their peers?
It is.
So do they go to school more often? Do they work?
They're required to link. We have a linked summer program
Okay.
that keeps, because we don't want to make sure we keep that learning going, and our kids attend that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Well, on this slide, on the second column, or line from the bottom, it says USA 4. So I got a guess, but can you just go ahead and point out? The USA.
Oh, that's a good minute to catch. Thank you. Yes, they were born in the United States, but then went back to parents' native country, and that's how the statistics are kept.
Okay, so our last program is our parenting, our pregnancy and parenting program. It is a program that is mandatory for us to have in order for us to keep our kids in school. So this year, this program serviced 125 students up to this date. It is for males and females, and its purpose is to provide some good, solid, effective parenting skills for kids. So they learn both of males and females, learn the prenatal, postnatal care skills. They learn what's effective and what's not effective when you're raising children. They learn what the different roles are within a household and how to budget. And we always stress the last part of that, preparing them for college and for a career. Because if anybody needs to be in college or needs to have a career, it's a parent. And so we kind of make that link and make sure that they understand. It's very, very essential for that. This program does not distance itself from the children, the young mothers, or when they're out. So there is a requirement for us to offer them some home instruction during these 6 weeks of post-delivery, because we want to make sure we keep them abreast and that they don't get so far behind. Because as you know, any of you that are mothers, you know what it can be. It can be very overwhelming when you have an infant we try to help them to balance that parenting versus the education piece. So we do offer that particular support for them. And we are always referred to agencies, whether they're clinics or community agencies, for help. And hopefully we can offer those at no fee or a low fee for them. And anytime you're talking about parenting, it's always a good idea to have some kind of a component for counseling. And so there are many of our students are referred for counseling support. So I know I've given you a lot of programs thrown to you at one time, and I hope that I've answered. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Once we identify that a student is pregnant, do we have a separate campus where they attend? Is there a program once they deliver and they go through their 6 weeks of post-delivery time period to where their child is on campus with them, or do they have to take care of all that stuff themselves?
No, they don't take care of everything themselves. They stay at their traditional campus for as long as they possibly can. We don't want to take them and say, you can't go to that school because you're pregnant. That's one of the first things we don't do. Some of them say, some doctors put them on bed, at home for bed, and we do service them at home. The program that I'm talking about is a separate program that they come to attend, just like they would go to SOAR or LEAN. So it's in their schedule as a course.
But there is no place where the baby is actually school with mom and like that.
No, but we provide support for them to be able to have people to help them with that. So whether there's an agency or a group that we can send them to get free or low cost support, that's what we do.
You said you want to start 25 students?
No ma'am, 125.
100.
Yes ma'am.
We don't have a lot of pregnancies that to be, is that the idea that we don't, or is there just a lot of that are not involved in the program?
There are some that are just, they opt not to be in the program. There are more pregnancies than 125 pregnancies. If that's what you're asking me, absolutely. Absolutely. But these are the ones who opt to be in the program. Yes.
I have a question about your SOAR program and your test program. I was in community college, and I know we go to SOAR maybe like once a year, twice a year. I don't want me on that every time. But I was wondering, since your population seems a little bit more at risk, I can assume that, do you all need any additional help or services in getting these students directly into college? So like as soon as they get their diploma, they know where they're going.
Absolutely. In fact, we worked with Hughes Community College about 2 years ago with exactly what you're talking about. We took a group of kids. We had a program on Saturday where that actually did happen. It is not, I think the organizer of that is no longer connected to the campus. I could probably get that. Ms. Williams, I think, was involved with our board member. Ms. Williams was involved with it. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the opportunities for community organizations to support health. How do those organizations make themselves available? For example, like YMCA wants to offer subsidized memberships for mothers and their children once the babies are first born. Reach out to you or?
What we would ask is that we first would make a connection with Dee Jones, who is in our community, public relations community coordinator. We start there, and then she makes that contact, and we set up a meeting with the principal and get a group of people to get it together, because we want to be able to organize and identify the students and get the help to them as immediately as we possibly can, because it's really important for us to have, we don't want to promise kids things, we want to make sure that they're ready when we offer them to them.
So Dee Jones is not retired?
No, she's not.
All right. I just want to get that down.
No, she's staying.
Jay, I don't think Mr. Moss or myself would let Dee Jones retire.
Yes, Ms. Burrow.
I just want to personally, and it's going to seem kind of one-sided, but I just want to personally thank you. Most people who are retiring kind of sit back and kick their feet up within the last few days of their retirement. I don't think y'all heard it right, but Ms. Eddings is retiring on Friday, and here she is working extra hard. I don't know if Mr. Chambers twisted your arm, but I doubt it. I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work and being my principal when I was in high school, and it was an honor to see you work so hard throughout these years and to see you leave the same way that you came in, on your feet, proud, working hard, and giving back to the community.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, our second presentation this evening has to do with children, but isn't directly children. So I know you enjoyed that and had lots of questions, and we're glad. We want you to know what happens with our kids on a daily basis. But we are very, very fortunate to have two people who are known across the state as being extremely knowledgeable about the textbook adoption process and what is now called the instructional materials allotment process. We are also very fortunate in Alief that we build meaningful relationships between all of our departments. Joe Schuster works in our warehouse, and he's in the procurement department and handles all kinds of things that help our kids on a daily basis. Karen Jacobs works in the instruction department. She is our science coordinator for our secondary science, and she also serves as our textbook adoption coordinator. So the two of them have had to work very closely together and learn about each other's roles to ensure that our schools and our students get all of the materials they need on a regular basis. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. That's right, we're in this together. So we want to give you an update on what used to be called textbooks and textbook adoptions. And with Senate Bill 6 in 2011, they changed everything. They changed the funding mechanism, they changed the name of the adoption process. They virtually changed our world when it comes to selecting materials. Just to give you an idea of what it used to look like, when it was a textbook adoption, we had the State Board of Education that would select textbooks. They would go through the adoption process. They would choose a list of books that they felt were appropriate. School districts could choose from that list of books, and we ordered the books, and they were paid for by the state. And we were allowed to order books based on our enrollment, which meant that we could order materials based on the number of students we had. So there was a direct correlation. You know, you have 100 students, you can order 100 books. They changed that. They took away the direct funding for textbooks for students, and they turned it into a monetary formula. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So they changed the name to the Instructional Materials Allotment. So the word textbooks is no longer anywhere in state statute. It now says instructional materials. And instructional materials can mean technology, online support, CDs, laptops, e-readers, anything that delivers content to the students. So the IMA also included what we call the technology allotment, which was basically $30 per student. They rolled that into this amount that we receive now. Funding is determined by the commissioner, and it's based on a percentage of the permanent school fund. The number can change from year to year. We never know what amount we're going to receive. And what's interesting is the amount we receive is no longer linked to the books that they have adopted and tell us we need to replace our old books with new books. It doesn't match up, and you'll see that in a minute. The funds are distributed by TEA one of two ways. They still do an adoption. They still have a list of books that we can order from, although we're not required to order from this list. We can order anything we want. So we can either choose books from the list, order the books, and they deduct it like a checkbook from our account, or if we're choosing to make purchases outside of their adoption process and buy, say, like laptops or e-readers, we've heard other school districts, buying technology for students, then we request that money, and then they send it to us for us to make the purchase. They approve it. It's an approval process. Like I said, there's no set amount that districts will receive each year. But the good thing is anything that we don't spend this biennium, and it's always by biennium, 2 years at a time, even though they only give us the funds 1 year at a time, it will roll over to the next year. This is just a quick snapshot of what our dashboard looks like, ordering materials from the state. So a lot of people are interested in what has changed and what's remained the same. What has changed with this new system is what we buy, we own. It used to be when it was a TEA adoption and we requested materials from the state. If our enrollment dropped and we had too many books, we had to send them back. They owned the materials. And so we were always responsible to TEA for these materials. And now we're not. If we buy them, we keep them, we can do what we want with them. We can purchase materials from the commissioner's list, open source materials, and what open source materials means is states or universities are starting to write curriculum where they write a book and then they just put it on the web and a school district can adopt it, take it, modify it, make it their own. It's completely open source. There's no fee and we can do what we want with it. Unfortunately, the state of Texas hasn't really embraced that. They've rolled out no materials yet, but California is starting to roll with that, and hopefully in the near future, there'll be some materials we can take advantage of. So electronic materials, like I talked about, we're not even required to replace books. We can keep the books that we have, and we can supplement those materials if they're out of date, or we need to address new TEKS, which are Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills Requirements. You'll hear I'm the logistics guy here, is the instructional person, so she can talk about those things. We can use it to buy technology services, training. We can't buy infrastructure, so we can't do cabling or any building modifications with the money, but we can buy, electronic materials. What remained the same is the state is still doing adoptions. And what's interesting is not a lot, but some of the publishers have realized that school districts don't have to choose books that go through the adoption process. And the adoption process is very laborious. So some of them are just bypassing that and going directly to school districts trying to sell their products and bypassing the State Board of Education completely. And us in the textbook industry kind of expect to see more and more of that, which is a little scary because, when it goes through that process, it's been thoroughly vetted. And when we purchase outside of that, we're making determinations on our own. But Karen will talk about that. We've foreseen that obstacle as well. So what does it mean? It obviously means we have tons of options now. We can purchase new books. We can purchase materials that just meet our testing needs. We can keep using the books we have. We can order class sets instead of one book for every child. We can purchase digital books. We can create our own materials. We can purchase materials and print them ourselves in-house, or we can consider any other opportunity to save money. So it's really a wide open field. So we are looking at an adoption, which the process has started now, reviewing materials, and we're going according to the State Board of Education schedule. These are the materials that are up for adoption. Most of them, they've changed their needs, so we have some issues that we need to address, that our books are no longer up to date, and we're not teaching at the grading parameters or what have you that we need to be. You can see this is quite a few books that need to be replaced this year. So it's Math K-8, Technology Applications, and Science K-12, all the way through. So the funding we received for this year, we estimate that we're going to receive, and when I say estimate, we've received the first year money. We haven't received the second year. We won't know that amount until April. So we're working on assumptions of the amount we're going to receive, although we're pretty confident we know the number. It's around $6,900,000. That sounds like a lot of money, but if you look at that amount, par it down to 6,000,009 even, and we look at the inventory that we have now to service the students, it's about 115,500 books that we have for all the subjects I showed you a second ago. If you divide that out by 46,600 students, which is basically our high point for this current school year, it breaks down to $148 per student to replace all these books. And if you think about it, some of these students are going to need some of the technology books, a science book, and a math book. They're going to need all three. So if you divide that out, we're down to $59 a book, which is not nearly enough. Some of the AP placement books are $120, $130. Even the math books that we have now at the elementary grades are $60 to $80. So we have some challenges as to how we're going to stretch this money to meet all of our needs. And on top of that, the $30 that we used to get for the technology allotment, which helped us stay up with our technology needs, that added up to almost $2.5 million, and that's not even accounted for in this. So that just went away. They rolled it in there, and then what our fear all along was when they rolled out this process in 2011 was once they de-link a book to a student, then they transferred the responsibility to us as a district to meet our needs with the money they decide to give us, and then whatever they decide to give us, they can always say, well, you're just not managing your money well, because there's not that direct link. Like in the old days, we could say, we had 100 students, you gave us 89 books, how are we supposed to do this? That's gone away. They shifted the burden to the school districts. And I'm sure you've heard about that a lot from Mr. Chambers. So, what are publishers offering on this adoption? Well, publishers have had a little time to prepare. They realize the dilemma school districts are facing, and they have rolled out a ton of options. All the textbooks I showed you just a second ago are adding up to 600 products from various publishers that they're offering and over 2,000 combinations. So what they're offering are things like a class set of books with online access, or an e-reader, or some of them have consumables, or some of them they give you a print book, but the teacher edition is only accessible online. Some of them are 2-year, 4-year, 8-year prices, and this is an 8-year adoption, and TDA has reserved the right to extend this adoption for an additional 4 years. So whatever we select now, we may possibly have here for 12 years. And that may sound like a long time, but we have books that are that old now. So we have books that we've been using for a long time, and when they wear out, it's a school district's responsibility to replace them. So we're spending money all the time on replacing books. Some publishers have conveyed copyright permission. Like I mentioned, we might be able to print those in-house. We're going to be looking at all the options. The bad news is this process was supposed to be transparent and available to us so we could start making these decisions on January 17th. But TDA was so overwhelmed with this 600 products and 2,000 variations of those 600 products that they haven't been able to post it online. So Karen and her teams are evaluating products now, and we don't know how these are packaged together or what the prices are going to be. So she has her hands full. Just a few items that we're considering. It used to be that we looked at the very best product that met all of our instructional needs, and that was the sole basis of our decision because TA paid for the books. Well, now that's still a primary consideration and one of our top considerations, but to add on top of the evaluation process, we are forced to consider, can we afford it? So it's just a fact of life now. So we have our instructional material allotment team where we have 20 plus people that make all of these decisions. The textbook adoption committees, which Karen is overseeing. They go through the evaluation process. They make recommendations. This team here will make the final decision as to what is in the best interest for the district. Instructionally, financially, long-term, does it fit in well with our progression to technology? I think right now we're considering that we're not at a point where any subject can be 100% digital. It needs to have printed material to hand out. So that's one of the challenges. How do we transfer from a print environment to a digital environment? It's inevitable. We used to have people that on this committee that said, an e-book is the way of the future, and it always will be. But they don't say that anymore. It is the way of the future. It's just getting there. And one thing I'd like to add is everybody thinks e-books and electronic is cheaper. Well, the last time we purchased books, they weren't cheaper. They were the same price. And publishers, they want to control how many online accesses they have. So every student who receives access to an e-book, the publisher wants them to have a login and a password. Well, guess who has to take care of that? Our technology folks. So we're talking about adopting several books and possibly creating 160, 200,000, logins and passwords. So we're creating jobs for people just to manage this. So it's not easy, it's not free, it's not cheap. It may be the way of the future, but we have hurdles to get there. So if you don't have any questions for me, I'm going to turn it over to Karen to talk about the adoption process.
All right, so my favorite part is the instructional end. All right, so let's get down to some teaching. All right, so before we even get started with the state timelines, I want to talk a little bit about the instructional standpoint. Well, the state with Senate Bill 6, what they do is they have teachers actually put out a call out to the state. And they said, okay, can we get some teachers to actually come out and evaluate standards and come look at some of what the publishers have put out. So we had several teachers come through and actually start reviewing textbooks. So that happened somewhere around April. Then they had a big webinar for teachers. The summer, they started reviewing textbooks, and then they started looking at for errors. Came forth about between September and October. You saw a lot of feedback back and forth. They brought some teachers into Austin to make some revisions. Then you start seeing the first part of the IMA funding came through in September. And then following that, you can see that we really didn't finalize anything. We didn't hear anything from the state until November, when they gave us a final listing of, here's an approved listing of the final listing of what textbooks we really recommend that meet our state standards. So this would happen right before Thanksgiving. This has been the latest textbook adoption we've ever seen from the state of Texas. So normally we're rocking and rolling back in September, but because of that, it's been pushed back. All right, also, Joe and I had an opportunity to attend, a textbook committee, state textbook committee in December. And what we found out was that publishers had the right to go ahead and negotiate changes. I mean, I couldn't believe the commissioner went ahead and said, hey, if I'm Hugh Mifflin and you're McGraw-Hill, if you like your packages, well, hey, I want your package too. I can still continue to put bids in. So guess what? They had until January 17th to continue putting bids in. So that turned out to be 107 pages. So what my teams have to do between now and I guess at the end of this month, we have to make our finalized decisions. And then, so the month of March, Joe, myself, our ESL, our SPED, and what we'll be doing is getting together and we'll be negotiating these contracts with our vendors because we have to make sure we make very cost-conscious decisions for our teams. And of course, we have to be noticing that the EMAT, which Joe showed a slide shot of, that closes in April. So we want to go to school board back in April to finalize the decisions. And of course, materials are now available to the districts in May. So we want to make sure that all our materials go to the schools in time for next school year. All right, now, back in September, our district subcommittee, which is basically all our adopted committees. So, for example, I'm science, secondary science, but science, our elementary science coordinator, our technology applications coordinator, and our math, elementary and secondary, got together with our executive director of curriculum and instruction. We all got together, we met, and we talked about what are some things that we really want to do. What can we agree about with this adoption? Because we knew it would be different than anything we've ever seen before. So we agreed to do these couple things. Number one, we agreed to basically have our teams decide their top 3 selections. And know that once they made their votes, campus teams, you may not get your first, you may not get your best choice. Because it depends upon the vendor. So first thing we want to do is, number one, we're going to pick for standards. Pick the most rigorous, the best standards, the best books that you can. But because we have to negotiate contracts, that may change the game because the whole paradigm has changed. 2, we have to look at different variables. The cost in terms of contracts, your technology requirements, special education consideration, and your ESL considerations. As you saw previously, you saw all the different dialects and all the different kids coming into our district. We know that online curriculum are probably considered only for our CTE, like our technology applications. But everybody else, we're going to probably pick a hybrid model if we could. Our online and something our kids can hold. We're still not away from our print format, as Joe previously stated. And we would try and get class sets plus 10% wherever we could. So we are trying to be cost conscious. All right, now, per our board policy, we have to have 100% of our TEKs maintained. So, Ms. Tomas is very nice and got us a product called Learning List. So what we do is it's a company that goes ahead and just basically gives us an assurance of making sure that 100% of our standards are guaranteed for our kids. So we're in Alief, we're really big about teaching our TEKs. And I don't know if you ever talk to any teacher, we're really big about our standards. And that's one thing you'll see with STAR and EOC. You can walk in any classroom, you'll see the strategies, and teachers are always talking about how we're teaching. Did you teach the TEKs today? When I walk in the classroom, you better believe it, I'm looking for those standards. So one thing we're looking at, an alignment to the TEKs was number one. They also provide, what LearnList provides for us is an editorial review highlighting the product's unique features and functionality. Basically, what is it about the products that our pilot testing group liked? How did kids respond to it? How did the teachers like it? And then also subscribers' ratings. Did they make it, was it marginal? Was it really highly rated products? So, some of these ratings could be up to a 20, 30 page long report back to your to the companies, from the different companies. So this is available to all of our textbook committee members. And as a matter of fact, I think we have a meeting actually Thursday. And then finally, here's our adoption timeline. As you can see, we sort of went through some of it. It's just that right now we are in the middle of doing our reviews. We're going to have a public hearing. It's going to be going on next month for anybody from the public that wants to come and review any of our textbooks. And as you can see, we'll be doing our negotiations. And next month is March. And then, of course, our April school board meeting, we'll really be doing our formalized adoption of the school board meeting. All right. Do we have any questions?
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, sure.
Is there maybe it's better form for me to contact somebody offline? Because I've written down about 7 questions.
Okay.
So I have a lot of concerns as a parent. And I also attended the board meeting last week where you addressed this to the board. So I've had a lot of time to think about this because I have a lot of concerns about what's going to be offered to the district. So I'll just ask maybe 1 or 2. For you guys, maybe that everybody else here is thinking about this, but when will you be reaching out to schools specifically to give them samples of what adoptions you're considering?
Okay. Okay, to answer that question, in December, we have a form letter we sent to all the publishers, and actually all the schools should have the materials already at their campus sites. I mean, they should have boxes and boxes of materials. As a matter of fact, right now my office is covered in books.
Who in the school would have that? Because my administrator is going to have that at the school my children go to.
I asked the campus after meeting we can talk. Okay, so we actually should have books. Okay. But we can talk after the meeting.
When Joe was talking, he had a slide up there about a committee of 20+ people. And this is February of 2014. Can you roll back 20 years to 1994? How large was that committee? Did it exist? Was it, a couple of people in the textbook operation, making these decisions? Why has this gotten so complicated? I'm assuming it has. Or maybe you go, no, we have 100 people involved in making decisions on purchasing textbooks. So, Joe, you want to comment on that?
Are you talking about the logistics?
Yeah, I'm talking about, there's a slide up there that says the committee is 20, there's that. 20 plus members.
That is a selection committee.
Okay, so roll back 20 years. Was there a selection committee in 1994? And how large?
There was an adoption committee, and it would have been handled by Karen's predecessor. And it would have been, usually it's like one from every campus, and they come together, like if they're adopting social studies, they're evaluating that. But there wasn't the monetary considerations that there are now. It was linked book for book.
So the evaluation was really more of a scholastic evaluation as opposed to a monetary one.
That's correct.
Are these people charged with making monetary decisions? Is this one?
All of us as a group.
Okay.
So now we have two groups. Now we have a group that looks to see what materials they want to select, and then we have a group that they have to bring that forward to decide how much money there is in the pot, decide what we can afford to purchase.
Right.
So go back 20 years. How large was that group, and how large is that group today?
20 years ago, the state provided all this.
Right.
So
They didn't give us the money.
20 years ago, there wasn't monetary considerations, so it was all academic considerations.
Yes.
Okay, so how large was the committee that put together the academic decisions? You said one from each.
It's about the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
roughly 20.
Just that we had smaller, we had less campuses back then.
Right.
Right, okay.
Coming from outside education, parents, taxpayers, others, members. Anybody?
He's talking about committee, people outside of the district, like.
Oh, on the final selection committee? No, it's all internal. It's all internal.
It's all internal.
The external considerations all take place at the evaluation and selecting that second, third product. And then, we look at what is feasible, what's the, as we say in purchasing, the best value for the district. Naturally with construction coming first. But, unfortunately, this is going to be our first time going through this process. When they rolled this out in 2011, all the decisions had already been made. And so they had the IMA in place, but they didn't give anyone rules until everyone had made their selections and we ordered books. I mean, you remember, we ordered books, and you probably heard about it at the state level. We ordered books literally 2 weeks before school started. And we were scrambling, working overtime, everything to get the books in and get them out to the school. And we were on top of it. We were way ahead of everybody else. There were school districts who, 4, 5, 6 weeks into the first semester, they didn't have a single book in place.
He was questioning about external sources, like being parents or taxpayers or business people or whatever. Is that how you define the external sources, or is it more like external from the administration?
Yes, to answer his question, that would be at the selection.
At the selection level, you have those types of folks.
So I'm just curious, how many of us here, actually, the last time we went to Barnes and Nobles and paid $6 or $100 for a book, I'm just looking at word age technology, information age here, and how do we break that monopoly of textbooks? I wish products we buy now don't come with a
I wish
instruction
you were
manual,
talking about
right? It's
that.
online, and some of the software companies don't have it, the CD anymore, you just download it online. I just wonder how many years down the road, you can buy it in bulk, 5 million Texas students, iPad, whatever you call it, iPad, whatever, everything can be downloaded, everything's going to be interactive, instead of a picture, it's going to be a short video clip and all that. Is there other companies that's going to break down the monopoly and provide a different source or use a cheaper way, a $100 textbook?
Actually, we're hoping that when they roll out the prices and we see what's in the package and what the prices are, that we're going to be happily surprised. they haven't posted it yet. I mean, we had all these presentations set up to present to you and to the board, hoping that we would have numbers to share and some better estimates of what this was going to cost us, whether we were going to be in deficit or roll a surplus the next year and maybe buy technology and, you know, to move us forward, but we can't say at the moment.
So you're in limbo.
Karen, I thought I heard you say that it was field testing on focus groups. Who was talking about that?
Oh, like with the learning list? Well, see, for example, like, depends on the material. For example, if I'll just make up a product. So let's say if I use Jacobs Enterprises and I'm offering a chemistry product, and let's say it's not on the adoption list, and however I'm selling it to school districts. Even though it's on the adoption list, let's say I offer per se it's for TEEPs, I have to go through the learning list process, and then you can say, okay, maybe 85% of the TEEPs. However, then you may have to supplement. This district has approved that you can supplement that 15% to show that it makes it 100% of the TEEPs.
Another question. You know, in the past, there's a lot of talk about, sort of like the medical industry, big pharma and representatives putting pressure on doctors to use certain medications. Is there any type of pressure on State Board of Education to use certain publishers? I know that.
Yep. Answer is
You hear about controversy, about content. Some people will post other content from the book of education. I have heard much about recently, that's something resolved.
Yes, obviously, you know, there's always the big three. You know, you have your Pearsons, your Hugh Mifflin, your McGraw-Hills. I mean, they're the monopoly of all the industries if you look at it, even like across the nation.
They want to go around 50 years ago when I was in high school.
And then for context, right, so the fact that the TEA, the Texas, Education Agency will allow those top three to compete and negotiate with themselves, which pushes the timeline, frames the whole entire narrative, the influence on the background. So school districts are in limbo in terms of providing parents, principals, leaders adequate time to say these are, our top three, this is what we're going to start to prepare for, this is what we're able to do because it's at a state level. So, in a way, yeah, everyone's on it.
Lots of lobbies.
Right.
Okay, so Roger here, we're looking at this $59 per student. Queen, you'd be lucky if you could buy one textbook for one kid. And you're all at that, so buying many, many things per kid. So it sounds like a protest of some sort needs to be generated and sent to us. So, everyone at age and such programs, who would we contact?
Oh, John Lopez, but he's trying to retire like in this month.
Well, that's all for it.
Yeah.
You can always contact your state representative. I mean, if you're, I don't know if you're asking somebody in the district, just who has that.
No, I'm just thinking as concerned parents, citizens, all of that. We should go ahead and share our concerns. And my well, I don't think my representative is going to do anything else good.
Just to clarify those two numbers, the $148 per student, that is a hard number. That is our 6.9 million divided by the number of students we have.
Okay.
The $59.75 per book, that's if we replace every book we currently use in our inventory to service those students. We have just enough books, science, math, technology applications. If we replace those books, book for book, then we would spend we'd have $59.75 per book to spend. Which obviously we can't make that work.
Yeah.
So what part of the state bureaucracy should we try to contact, I guess is what I'm asking? Does TEA
Yeah.
or somebody in particular? Because, I mean, I don't think that the representatives and the senators, on a one-to-one basis can really be all that effective. I mean, they've got a lot of different things that they have to deal with. And a lot of times, you don't see the government budge until they find out that the voters are the ones that are upset. So if the voters wish to have a say, I was just wondering if you could suggest some branch, somebody.
Well, it would be the Texas Education Agency, but this change did occur because of the Senate bill, am I correct? Senate Bill 6.
So that, your legislators are the appropriate people to call, but the Texas Education Agency would hear that as well. And please know, we already realize that we will have to supplement this locally, so that we are not going to let students not have the materials that they need. That we have said that from day one, from the very, very beginning. So we will do what is necessary for us as a school district to provide for our students to ensure that they have adequate.
Maybe, I just think we need some feedback from others.
Sure,
Is it
absolutely.
working really well, or it's got some problems?
Yep, we would appreciate that.
So the other thing that, and I kind of want to add to what you were saying with e-readers, I like the idea of mixed media, but I have concerns about the back end and what it generates, like we talked about. And so just to kind of bring to the forefront, there's technical issues, there's databases, there's licensing, there's training on how to use it for the students and for the teachers and for the administrators. And then something that wasn't addressed during the board meeting, and I don't think has been brought up here, is that I have like ergonomic concerns as far as students looking at something this close to their face. And I realize we have iPhones, I have one too, but the rule that we use in oil and gas is 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off with a 20-minute distance. But we are like constantly having training, and so that would be more time taken away from core curriculum to go over with the students on how to use their e-readers. So, I mean, I realize you guys are in a really curious place, and I'm concerned that I didn't know anything about this as a parent until I came to the board meeting. And now I feel like I could have had all of this time doing something about it. I did already write to my state representative and to my congressperson because I was upset that this wasn't more publicized to us. You know, and this is a huge, it's going to affect my children hugely.
Right.
And also for the IMA board or committee, that the parents are represented, and you said something during the board meeting that you guys are going to put out an ad in the Houston Chronicle. Quite frankly, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, something needs to come to every parent home. Putting something in the Chronicle, I don't even know that the majority of your parents will even look at the Chronicle. You know, so it's like, I don't think that's good enough. Sending an email, having a board meeting where you invite everybody to come and let them know, because even the board meetings that are held here publicly, I've been coming to them since my children have been going to English schools, but I have to actively look for when it is. It's even on our website, it's hard to find when the board meetings are. So I just would like for you guys to take a more active role in communicating with parents, because I'm not going to be the only parent that's concerned. And should have an opportunity to say something, because all I'm hearing is cost, cost, cost. But my concern is that my children's going to get, or my kids are going to get a really great education here. Or do I need to leave the district? Or put my kids back in private school? I have a lot of concerns.
Right. Thank
Well,
you.
Just so you know, this funding mechanism is exactly the same for every school district in the state.
I get
Every
that.
district's going to be facing the same dilemma we're facing.
But in all fairness, Katie and Cy-Fair spend more money per student than Alief does. Their numbers are $1,200 per student is what they're spending on their students per year. Ours is $400 something. So just in that, there's not a fairness.
Property taxes.
I know that, I get it, but it's still, but those kids, you know, they have an advantage our children aren't getting.
We have a 98% graduation rate, and the children in Alief compete just as well as students in Cy-Fair, KD, Fort Bend. And so, Senate Bill 6, that's a 2011 conversation. So, you know, in talking about engagement, every third Tuesday, the school board meeting happens. Every third Tuesday, there's a public notice on the hall. It's in every newsletter that goes to almost 12 different zip codes from Alief. And so it's a dual responsibility. The district does, I mean, over and above of what it can, but it takes individuals like you, spreading the word. And so when you're talking about legislation and all that, that conversation happened in 2011. It's rolling out now, right? House Bill 5, that was 2011, it's 2014, and we're now changing how we do education. So, you know, there's a book that says school districts can't do it alone, and we cannot, and the onus can't be on just staff members, board members, everyone, and that's why this roundtable is created. And so when you're looking at comparing Alief, and I'm a product of the district, I think I'm doing very well, you can't say, well, this is what's happening. When we have $400,000 home and the property tax is XYZ, when you have developers trying to come in the district to put low-income housing, which changes the tax base, which changes what Alief is able to do in terms of per student. Alief was just awarded $1.4 million to restore what the state took away 6 years ago. So we're still operating in excellence with a deficiency financially. We're still reaching those cities, we're still educating, we're still getting them ready for college and career. So I want you to take a step back and look at a broader perspective on what the district is doing, what's actually happening, and realizing a lot of these decisions happen in Austin.
Oh, I'm fully aware of that. I'm fully aware of that. But still, just looking at it as numbers as a parent, and I appreciate your passion about the district. I'm also a product of Alief, well-educated, have a wonderful career, and chose to move back into the community after having a house in Ireland, selling it, and coming back into the community. So I made a decision to move back to Alief because I thought I could help Alief and my kids. Because I think the teachers here truly care about their children, where I found there to be a big disconnect in private school. So I made a decision to be here, but I still have, just looking at the numbers, I think it was about 4 months ago at a board meeting, when it was presented at how much money was being spent at Katy and Cyfair, and how, we're half of the spending. I realize it's tax-based, but it's huge. And those children don't have they have computers in every single classroom, more so than Alief does. And I realize it's because they have the tax dollars. But what are we doing about that to make it more fair, to level out the playing field? That's what I'd like to, hear, that I don't hear. Those are things I'd like to know more
And
about.
we appreciate that, thank you. I'll share that with Mr. Chambers, and I'll make sure that Ms. Jacobs gets the group together so that you're aware of what materials are in your school and available to your kids. We really have been there for a while.
Well, I did. I actually reached out to my administrators to ask about these books or to know what they know about it. And they were like, I wish I could tell you more, but I don't really know a lot about it. And I found that disappointing that they weren't able to tell me what's going on, especially leaving the board meeting. I felt like I knew more.
Yeah, so I appreciate you sharing that with us. We'll make sure.
Real quickly, I know he's been having his hand for a while.
Just curious, are some subjects, the textbooks, replaced more often than others? And are they replaced more often in high school than elementary school?
No, because I know, for example, I'll just cite an example. It's just a replacement cycle. Science had been replaced since 2002. So they had a supplemental science adoption in 2010 when they rewrote the TEEPs, and that was only electronic. And so now they're just finally with the cycle, they're just now replacing K-12.
So there is not a disparity between.
And mathematics is equal days old.
And they just changed TEEPs again in mathematics.
I've got a suggestion, probably Craig, you can pass this on to HD. Last week I attended a luncheon and there was a candidate for State District 7, which as you probably know is the incumbent is Dan Patrick, because he's moving on to higher lands and he's going into the lieutenant governor range. The guy's name is Paul Bettencourt. He's very familiar with Houston and been a district clerk or whatever he was for many years.
District court.
Anyway, 90% of the speech centered around education, which floored me, because you're talking to people that are property owners and HAA, apartment owners, and so, apartment managers. So I thought, maybe it's something that you can get HD to put together a panel, because sometimes if you bring in the incumbent, Patrick, he's already got his vision, but a candidate still kind of is out there, and if his bugaboo is education, maybe we can continue this on in another month, inviting Bettencourt. I don't believe Bettencourt Senate District includes Alief, but it doesn't matter because there's only 31 of those guys and gals, and they put policy together for this, and I was just floored that his bugaboo is education. So I'll throw that out there if you guys want to make a phone call. And he's pretty visible. I mean, he'll probably come.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, one last thing I want to make sure you know before we open it up to any other questions. We are planning, those of you that were with us last or we did it actually in the fall last year. So we're doing that now in the spring. We're going to visit an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school, and we will also take you through some of the neighborhoods just so that you get a feel for Alief. Alief has 46,000 children, so that's a lot of kids, but we're only 36 square miles, so we're not very large geographically. So that gives us the opportunity to kind of show you some neighborhoods that you might not be familiar with, and walk them in some of our schools so that you see some of our programs taking place from our little babies up to our high school kids. And then we hope to end that day with lunch at our culinary arts program, which is Hermes Bistro. If you're not aware of it, one of our career and technical education programs is culinary arts, and we have a group of children in our high school who actually operate a cafe. It's open one day a week for teachers, and for actually anybody, but typically teachers are going to take advantage of it. And they serve lunch, and it is an award-winning cafe, actually. So we would love to have you guys join us on the 27th. Craig will be sending out some real details of the times and everything, but we plan to start about 8 o'clock that morning, and we plan to be at lunch at about 11:30 and finish by about 12:30. So we hope you can join us.
Can you find out, I think I understood this very early, but can you find out if there will be any provisions for us to actually work in the district, we can participate?
Yes, we'll help you. Yeah, we'll help you figure that out. Certainly, we'll help you figure it out.
Because I don't know. Everybody's meeting here.
We're going to meet right here. We're starting at 8. So we plan to meet here at 8. We'll have a light breakfast for you. But yes, that's the plan, to meet here at 8. And then we will spend about 30 minutes in each school, and then the rest of the time we'll just be traveling through the district and kind of giving you a narrative of what Alief is about and some of the businesses in our area and communities in our area. Yes, yeah. She happens to have a picture from last year of the Community Leadership Network when we were out. It was in the communicator, so she's bringing it to share with her friend and a picture taken with some of the kids. So yeah, that's great. That's perfect. We have written down lots of the things that you talked about and brought up tonight, and we'll be certain to share that. But do you have any other questions this evening, or any other topics that you would like to make sure we get on our agenda to talk about? You know, Ernie's Bistro is actually at the annex. So if it's not on the tour, we'll make sure that you get to go into the couple classrooms at Soaring Lane, because we will be there anyway. So that's a great idea. That's a great suggestion.
Are we on top of the finally, last class?
Yes.
Oh, hello everybody, my name is Oliver Maho. I think everyone knows me there. I've been here in Alief for almost 11 years, and it's a lovely place. My 2 girls, I have 4 kids, and all of them are born here in Alief. And I'm a president for my non-profit organization that I created 4 years ago. And as well, I'm a president for my homeowners association, President Park. And I'm a president for the Hotel Superintendent Council, and I'm active with some other business like Alief Superintendent Council. And I'm a leader for all the Guatemalans in 5 states recognized by the government of Guatemala. There was a group of Guatemalans that decided that we should pressure the government of Guatemala to help out the community here in the United States, because we don't believe that it is 100% responsibility of the United States to take care of people from Guatemala. So we create a law that we have books, we have school materials that can help all the Guatemala's kids or adults to learn how to read and write, because we find out that most of the people that are here from Guatemala, they come from rural places where they don't know how to read, they don't know how to write. So if you guys want to take advantage of it, you know how can I provide that material. Like I said, whatever amount of material you guys need to help out the district, I'm here to help out. And as well, I want to announce that February 15th, we're going to meet with the council member about the construction of the Alief Community Center, which is on the Veteran Cuba. And as well, we're talking about how to spend the library, because our library is the second most visited in the whole city of Houston. And unfortunately, we don't have enough books, we don't have enough space for the kids. Sometimes the parents have to go outside until the kids have to go and do whatever they want to do in the library. And so I hope you guys can be there at the library, February 15, 7 p.m. Our council member is going to be there. And February the 25th, we're going to have a voting registration at Kilo Middle School, 6 p.m. And you guys want to volunteer, we volunteer to help us out, to fill it out as well. Citizenship, because we're going to do citizenship, we're going to have some immigration lawyers there, and we're going to do that for totally free. So that's going to be on February 25th. It's going to be Tuesday, 7 p.m. at Kilo. And as well, I'm a volunteer, asked for being a soccer coach for volunteer for Alexander Elementary School. So, and I would like to find out who can help me out, or where, or how, or what can I do to. Okay, and so.
Which library?
Vishna and Hugh. And I'm one of the ones that as well created traffic on Vishna. That was the one that I went to see at Ministry. That was the yeah, that's the street I ride sometimes 4 times a day. So, so I'm really involved in District F, District J, and part of District H as well. But and as well, I'm a supporter for immigration reform. So I'm really active.
Just a little bit.
I don't make money of that. I have my own business, so thanks to God, my business is all by itself. So I have time to help my community and teach my kids that that we have to love this nation. We have to get involved and be part of this whole community. So I'm here to help out.
Good job, bro.
Well, just to clarify, the meeting with council member Richard Nguyen is this Saturday morning at 11 a.m. at the Alief Community Center at Kirkwood in Melbourne.
Okay, thank you so much.
It's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's concerning the new or other proposed multi-use center that they want to put on site there. And they're trying to get community feedback about what does the community want. So it's this Saturday, February 15th, 11 a.m., Community Center, Bel Air.
And the plan currently is to encompass the library and that, correct?
That's one of the plans, yeah, but they want to get community feedback. I mean, and because of the stopgap between them, the city's already allotted, I believe, between $300,000 and $400,000 to upgrade the library, because it's going to take 4 to 5 years to build the multi-use center. And there'll be some, what they propose, what we hope, if you ever go down to Kirkwood South on Memorial, before you get to the bayou,